what I would like to see the players do now a bit more is starting to limp. It's something we didn't used to see in the past, but I've been faulted for it many, many times. But it's actually making a lot of sense because you want to play smaller pots if you're not Karmatsky. Karmatsky just wants to blow up the pot, get the people out.
So Shigai raises small to big with ace-6. He's dominated by Karmatsky's ace-9. One of the things we were talking about earlier on, Igor, is the fact that the pace of play slowed yesterday. There have been quite a few situations today where players have been taking their time over their decisions. For the casual viewer, it can be quite frustrating at times. We've talked about the fact that the shot clock will be employed in the main event in Monte Carlo. Now, as someone who plays a lot of the high roller events, which have been running with shot clocks for the last year to 18 months, are you a fan of that?
I love it. I think the shot clock is increasing of course, the pace of play. It increases the amount of hands I get to play. And it also doesn't really hurt you that much because you are kind of done with your decision, truthfully, over 98% of the time within the first 15-20 seconds. And like you're lamenting kind of around it very, very often. And so it arguably even helps you in some way. Or rather, sometimes it will help you. Of course, you want to have that additional time in other situations, but this is what we have the time extensions for. And what we've seen so far in the events is that people don't use up all their time extensions and are just standing there without and having to act, being like actually on the hot seat. People always have time extensions left. So it seems that the system really works, and I'm excited to see it in the main event.
So Karmatsky is 3-bet to just over $1 million. Shigai wants to see how many chips he has. The answer is more than you.
I'm not sure about the 3-bet by Karmatsky here. I guess he just wants him to fold his hands because you wouldn't expect worse aces to call by the player who is under pressure. And you wouldn't even expect him maybe to make... I mean, he might call against that small size with 10-9 suited, Jack-9 suited, 8-9 suited, but I wouldn't expect him to continue that often with worse holdings. So it seems to me that ace-9 actually lends itself fairly well to just a flat call in position, keeping the worst aces, all the worst 9s still in the hand. Wow. As it goes though, Shigai is willing to play, and the small size was well thought out by Karmatsky. He knows his opponent.
Okay, so an overinflated pot, 2.2 million.
That's what Karmatsky can allow himself.
Two biggest stacks. See an ace-8-5 flop. Shigai checks. So these are the two big stacks at the table. If I'm Martirosyan sitting there with 19 bigs, I'm loving this.
So this board is also an example of something else that's interesting. You might, of course, in a 3-bet pot, you don't want to go for 3 streets of value here with the ace-9. You might even not be able to do that with the ace-queen. So the question is, which streets do you bet and which do you check? And people elect to check flops a bit more often, but I'm not so sure that's that good a play, because if you bet the flop, you would do it with any bluff. So people will still call you fairly light. An 8x hand will just call you. Maybe even a king high, king 10 of clubs will still call a small bet. And what it also allows is if you bet the flop small and then make a medium-sized turn bet, now you get basically always to the showdown and you get to check it down. Whereas if you check here, now the small blind might bet large and then extra large into you, and it's just fairly hard.
Yeah, with no c-bet from Karmatsky on the flop, Shigai leads turn for 1.5 million. There's the call from Karmatsky. This hand going to the river, 5.2 million in the middle, and Shigai has less than pot behind. The river is a 4, so the 9 kicker is playing. Wow. And did Shigai just announce all in?
Oh my god, we might... I'm not sure he is turning the hand into the bluff, actually. I think the large size on the turn suggests that he was betting for value against someone who is 3-bet in his view light and probably doesn't have an ace. So I think actually Shigai puts Karmatsky here on a hand like kings or queens or a bluffing hand that had an 8.
Wow.
I doubt he's trying to get him off an ace-jack type hand. That is incredible.
Oh, for a moment there I thought that was a call. Needs to be careful. I mean, a single chip thrown in would be regarded as a call.
How good a break would that be for him right now if the dealer just ruled that a call? He would scream against it, then he would see the hand turn over and just say,
That's the second time he's done it.
No,
I
no,
think,
mean
in all honesty, though, he does need to be careful.
Yeah, I would assume that it's just really him being kind of in his own world right now and not thinking about it rather than attempting to do something on purpose. Oh, and Shigai getting more confident here with the tank by Karmatsky that he is ahead.
Didn't realize how crinkly his jacket was.
The yellow coat?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been wearing it for a few days, then I assume it wasn't 5 coats after all.
Comet701 makes a very good point, Igor. You are not the best post-flop player in the world. Shigai knows what he's doing.
Oh my god, he might. I think he'll give it up. And this is the pot that decides who has like a 75% chance to win the tournament.
Is there any information to be gleaned in how quickly Shigai moved all in? As soon as that river card was dealt.
Generally, yes, quite a bit. So I think with Shigai in particular, we've seen him act fairly regularly, quite fast. So I wouldn't say that it takes out value or bluff combinations necessarily. I think he's done both. But one thing, well, actually in this case, even this hand is in there. But the one thing you can usually rule out when someone acts very quickly is that they could not have had the time to have a very complicated thought. So if he was on a hard decision, like, I mean, it's usually very true, even though this particular hand doesn't speak for it, but usually the hand I would rule out would be a hand like Ace-7 that actually isn't a tough decision. Does it value bet or not? Apparently Shigai can think through that faster though.
Какие ты хочешь увидеть?
Но есть те, которые показывать не нужно.
Не знаю, мне один человек не сказал то, что не считает меня. Так что они могут быть хаотичны. Видишь, заговорил. Он еще не только гляделки, он еще разговаривать может.
They're talking about someone else, not about the particular hand right now.
Покажешь?
Asking him if he'll show.
Ты увидишь потом же.
Ну, потом-то увижу, понятно.
He says,
Я
why?
так покажу.
You'll see it anyway. But I'll
Ты первый
show as well.
откроешься, я тебе покажу вторым. Тогда,
Ну,
если
понятно,
так.
да.
If you show, then I'll also show you as like after you show me.
Дурацкая ситуация, конечно, вышла.
Понимаю, то, что тебе не просто туз, хороший же у тебя. Подумай, подумай. Никуда не торопимся.
Wow, Shigai says, I understand that you don't just have a good ace here. Like you couldn't be thinking with just an ace here. In terms of he's saying that, I think Shigai knows at this point that Karmatsky has the stronger hand, and that he is actually bluffing. And he just told him, don't worry, just sit down, sit there and think a little bit longer.
Every time he throws those chips down, I think he's calling.
Или ничего не.
Ерунда.
А плюс 2 не может?
Нет.
So he just said, either you have pocket 5s or pocket 8s, and Shigai interrupted him and said, or I have nothing. That could also be. That could just. He's very confident. I mean, his speech play is quite strong here. Like, he is so comfortable, and he knows he's behind, I think.
Готов сидеть и сиди, да?
Готов, серьезно. Мне вот нравятся такие ситуации. А терпеть могу, когда сидят, что-то смотрят друг на друга. Что
Я
вот...
2 раза говорил.
Now the rest of the table is joining the
Давайте
conversation.
время поставим. Ускорим.
Shigai is asking for a clock, though. It seems
Я
he will
точно время
shift.
никому ставить не
Нет, я могу
буду. Особенно,
поставить,
если
да?
вот такой разговор идет. Вообще, кайфуха.
Я показываю, ты показываешь, да?
Ну да, ты код первый показываешь.
Я понимаю.
So that's something to be careful
Это
with.
зачем всё
So
равно
Karmatsky
показывать,
just said,
наверное?
just wanted to
Не,
make
ну,
sure
можно
that
было
if
время
he
там,
shows,
без
then
проблем.
Shigai also shows. But you don't
Ты можешь
really.
сказать, я
So I think the thing that is true is that if you get your opponent to guarantee that you will, like, they will show their hand, you will just fold more often because you kind of get. Oh my god.
Ну, вторую.
У меня 2 блокера, тяжело тебе колоть. 109.
Oh.
Oh, Komatsky sees that he folded the best hand.
Я говорил же,
And he
что я
only showed the ace of
лучший,
club
Илья, вы
first,
слышите? Я
so
лучший.
he turned over the ace of clubs.